is the Limitless channel, and we're live on the Awake Souls YouTube channel. How's everybody doing?
I'm doing well. How are you doing, brother?
I'm doing good. Looks like for some reason the Zoom isn't picking up. Let's see if I can fix that.
It's a Friday night. All right. Hopefully all of you out there have a few days of rest coming. Friday nights are a fun night for me because I just like to kick back and relax with all of you. I don't have other people around me that I'm hanging out with, the friends, the family, that kind of stuff. So this is my way of going out. Friday night, going out with the friends. And so we all get to meet up here online and hopefully have some communion together. So thank you to everybody that's in the chat for being here, and to those that listen in the future. We like to do call-ins on Friday nights, and that's going to be part of tonight. But we also try to come up with a topic to talk about, and the one that came up recently was 5G. It was you, Ronnie, that I think you were saying something to me that you're seeing a lot of fear porn, maybe even more so, being more fear porn coming out of 5G than even like chemtrails or something like that, right?
Yeah, I see a huge push with the what is it? Truth is Stranger Than Fiction channel, which is Ron Johnson, former employee of Alex Jones, and I see it constantly on Facebook. I see like over and over and over again, I see people, 5G is going to kill you, 5G is going to give you cancer, like, they're going to, turn your body into mechanical robots and all this other stuff. You heard any of this stuff?
I have. I totally have. It's interesting that my technical background involves this a little bit, and so that'll probably come up later. I set up radio transmitters before. They call them satellite dishes, but they're radio transmitters. And so I'm familiar with, megahertz and gigahertz and having, high pass, low pass band filters and all that on signals. But it's, we've been so indoctrinated into everything has been made to conform to a heliocentric model. There's always been a false explanation attached for everything. So now knowing that there's all this astroturf material out there, what I'd like to do tonight is just go through some of the cold hard facts, the things that we know for sure about microwaves, about radio waves, about infrared waves, about all these different types of waves that aren't visible with our eyes, but yet we can measure them and we know that they exist, and what kind of effects that they have and what can we do with them. And the big thing is Ronnie and I have been working so hard to dispel the fear porn that's being promoted, because we understand that as being witchcraft. That the thing that they're promoting, something like chemtrails, that it's not literally poisonous chemicals that are being sprayed all over people, or they're not heavy metals that continue to float in the air, but that they're false explanations for something that we witness, and they're used in a way to mind control people. So 5G looks like it might actually have the most mind control effect, because it literally says, like the fear propagandists, that this is going to somehow be able to take over and control your mind. And so if a person were to actually believe that, then in fact they may be falling subject to the mind control by believing that. So that's evil black magic right there. And so we want to talk about some of the realities regarding 5G and some of the things that are just made up nonsense to fear porn you and get control of your mind.
Yeah. So thank you everyone for joining us tonight. We're super thankful always to have communion, like Jason started it off by saying. So I guess my question is to everybody in the chat: do you guys understand what the G stands for, what 5G, 4G, what we're actually talking about tonight with these new communication systems that are being set up. I guess I don't know how you want to jump into it. I don't know if you want to have a little more casual talk first. It's up to you.
Um, let's see. I want to see if I can get some sort of audience participation going here. So I'll start a screen share, and so stop my camera. So I've got another thumbnail that. All right, so I need to know from everybody, what are your 5G concerns? And what is it that you're truly worried about? What do you think that 5G can do that's going to hurt you? And you even just tell me what the other fear propagandists out there, what they're promoting. Because, we need to isolate how many things are there that we should, really be looking into, regarding 5G. I can personally think I'll start it off with two. One being cooked, right? Like a microwave, like you're going to be cooked by these 5G signals, or two, that they're going to somehow take over control of your mind, like you're in a simulation and they have the ability to capture your thought process and hack it and take control of your body.
You just gotta maybe fix the chat a little bit. Oh, it's not too bad. So your concerns and your questions, I guess, pointing out again that witchcraft is like a placebo effect. Everybody can understand a placebo effect. They give you a pill and they tell you it's something, and then you have the effects of what that pill should be, even though it's just sugar.
Mm.
So witchcraft works this way. And we've been out warning people for a long time, for years now, that chemtrails is a form of witchcraft. They're not spraying poison over you because they'd be spraying poison over themselves, right? And it's the same thing when I talk about 5G. It's the people that run the world don't want to cook themselves. Why? Like, for a conspiracy theorist to think that, it really shows their lack of intelligence.
Well, there's going to be that group of people out there that are going to want to come attack this, the ones that are the 5G fear porn propagandists. And so they're going to want to come in and say that we're shilling for the government. We're shilling for the New World Order, for control of your mind, that we're out here to harm you, that you're going to get cooked, and these guys are saying you're not going to get cooked. So I just want people to start with a simple thought example here of a microwaved egg. All right. So I don't believe I've ever cooked an egg with a microwave, but I do understand that you can. The microwave, it's got these microwaves that cook the food. And so the thing with these towers, these cell phone towers, are if you think that it has the type of energy that it is going to be able to cook you, just stand there with an egg and see whether or not it cooks the egg.
Oh man, I can't reach the bell. I don't have the ding. Did you come up with that today, or was that just spontaneous?
Just a little bit before the hangout.
Oh, that was great. That was great. Stan, oh, I see. Yeah, you got the thumbnail there. It's all coming together now. And just to add on top of that, I've heard some people saying now that microwaving your food actually leaves more nutrients in it than boiling it or or burning it, right, on fire.
Yeah.
Apparently the microwave is totally normal and it's not bad. It's almost like the Galen Windsor effect, we'll call it, where he swam in the cool-off tanks for the supposed nuclear waste. He dove in it, right?
Yeah. So if you keep that in mind, just always come back to that fail safe. If you're worried that some tower around you is its signal is so powerful, whatever, that it's going to cook you, just hold on to an egg, crack an egg, see whether or not it gets cooked, and you'll understand that you're not being cooked by these signals. In fact, what we're talking about with cell phones is radio frequencies. Radio frequencies. That is actually something totally different than microwaves. Totally different. Although you can heat something with a radio wave, it's definitely not a microwave. Totally different categories. Just want to, we're going to be going through Wikipedia here, understanding that this is the most astroturfed results we can possibly find. Now, it's considered to be, authoritative and fact and all that, but we know that they've adjusted everything to fit a heliocentric model and do things like hide free energy and stuff like that. So what we do when we read through something like this is look for the things that we know are verifiable, and then when it relates to one of the topics that we know they're going to shill about, figure out how to read between the lines. But if you're worried about being cooked by 5G signals, chances are some fear propagandist has been promoting the idea that you're going to be cooked the way a microwave cooks something. These are microwave antennas, and there's simple facts about these things. They have frequencies between 300 megahertz. I want people to actually pay attention to some of these ranges. We're going to be talking about megahertz and gigahertz when relating to microwaves, when relating to radio waves. Remember, cell phones are radio waves. So we've got our UHF and EHF bands. All right, so the K and KA bands are actually the ones that I was working with. Those are the ones that DirecTV and
you sold satellite services?
Yeah. They work off of the K and KA band. I mean, I understand that from the equipment that I was working with.
It's funny that the cell phone towers are emitting the same signal that the satellites are supposedly emitting, right? Mute.
Yeah, frequencies in the microwave range. All right, so the prefix micro in microwave is not meant to suggest a wavelength in the micrometer range. Rather, it indicates that microwaves are small, having shorter wavelengths compared to the radio waves used prior to microwave technology. All right, the boundaries between far infrared and terahertz radiation, microwaves, and ultra-high frequency radio waves are fairly arbitrary and are used variously between different fields of study.
Did you say ultra-high?
Yeah, ultra-high frequency radio waves. So they actually have a little chart here of the electromagnetic spectrum. And what you can see here is that we've got infrared, microwave, and radio. These are different types of energy. They're differentiated. So we're not being microwaved by cell phone towers unless if they're specifically using microwave technology in their broadcast. But most of these transmitters for cell phones are radio transmitters. So they operate in the 300 gigahertz to 3 kilohertz range, radio waves. Each one of these frequencies, wavelengths, different types of energy. I just want to hammer home this point about the kitchen microwave. because this is what everybody's going to relate these waves to. So the question I typed in here is, do kitchen microwaves use radio waves? The answer is, not surprisingly, a microwave oven uses microwaves to heat food. Microwaves are a type of wave that are sandwiched between radio waves and infrared radiation on the electromagnetic spectrum. In the case of microwave ovens, the commonly used wave frequency is roughly 2,450 megahertz or 2.45 gigahertz. So one of the first things I want to do is dispel this, you're going to be cooked by 5G. That's not the danger in 5G whatsoever. You can test to see if anything else is being cooked, right? It's not going to only cook you and not cook the egg if you're both the same distance away from this radio antenna. So this takes me back to the topic that you and I were talking about recently. And with all these fear porners around the 5G topic, yeah, I just keep taking it back to, does everybody remember the transition from having a corded telephone to having a cordless telephone? You know, I think you got to be a certain age to.
I specifically remember. Yeah, it was great when we got them. You didn't have to drag the cord around with you, right?
Yeah,
it was great, and then the phone number would show up. That was another thing that started happening with.
Yeah, you started getting caller ID.
ID.
Yep. Yeah, so these work by a radio frequency between the handset and the base. And so it says here in 1994, digital cordless phones in the 900 megahertz frequency range were introduced. I remember when these came out. You know, and it talks about the progress that they made here, but it also talks about the frequencies that these cordless phones work by, the radio transmissions, right? So there is the 1.7, and then there's these comments about, you know, after 1984, they weren't allowed to use this band anymore because the government highly regulates frequencies, highly regulates it. These you know, 27 megahertz and the 43 through 50, I didn't really see those phones on the market. I saw the 900 megahertz, and then it jumped to the 2.4 gigahertz, and now these are the types of frequencies that we're pretty familiar with these days. This ranged from 2.4 to 5.8 gigahertz. You know, what I want people to understand and relate this to is that if you've had to deal with tech at all, if you've ever had to purchase a wireless router, hook it up to your internet, nowadays, chances are if you're getting a better one, you're going to come up with a dual band. So here's just a more, you know, decent, but, you know, upper end wireless router here. And it says here that 450 megabits per second on the 2.4 gigahertz band and 1,300 megabits per second on the 5 gigahertz band. Now, if anybody's ever paid attention, your 2.4 gigahertz band is going to have a longer range from the base. If you're using this frequency, you will be able to get farther away from the base, but its maximum speed that it's going to be able to handle is 450 megabits per second. Now, the higher frequency, 5 gigahertz band, can handle a lot more data, 1,300 megabits per second, but it has a much more limited range because the lower the frequency, the farther the signal travels, and the higher the frequency, the shorter it travels. And you can think of this like from music, from bass, right? The bass notes, the lower the frequency, you can hear the bass at a rock concert miles away, where you don't hear any of the treble, right? The higher frequencies do not travel as far, but when used for data transfer, the higher the frequency, the more data that you can cram on that signal, and you can jam more data through that pipe. Right? So this whole 5G thing is about moving to a higher bandwidth, weaker actual radio signal. And that's the reason why they're going to need to have more of them around. Is there anything you want to jump in with, brother?
Yeah, I wanted to show you a picture really quick of the cell towers in my hometown of Aurora, Ontario. Let's see here. Here's screen share this one. And then I gotta switch this one. Make sure everybody can see. Sometimes I don't. I can't stand it. Can you see?
Yeah, I can see.
So this is, remember I kept telling you the new cell towers are way, so I'm going to assume that there's probably a bigger amplifier because it's like a pyramid, 3 sides, like a triangle. Right? You see how it's a triangle?
You know what though? There's interesting things, like, because I was just trying to get prepped beforehand. Mm-hmm. Some of I think it's the millimeter wave antennas that they're broadcasting on. The sending unit is like a few centimeters by a few centimeters. Mm-hmm. It's not like some massive device. But then there's like 3 main kinds. There's line of sight. There's a bounce reflection one. I don't know. When we go through, I don't know it all yet.
These ones,
we're doing like public learning here.
This tower here, and you know what's interesting? When I go on Google Earth, it censors those towers. If you believe it or not, yeah, I can't. That tower, if I take us over to that area, it should be in this area here. There should be a tower. This tower right here. That was this tab. It's coming down this hill here. It should be like right here.
Yeah.
It's not on the map. And
you might have to zoom in real close, but
no, it's not. I looked. It's not on there. No towers. And then because what they do, if I zoom back out and show everybody, it's like super ultra high fast speed though. So
yeah.
If you see the town of Aurora, it's kind of a grid. So where we were just looking was right here. If you can see my pointer. So they have one set up over here. And then they have like another one set up over here. So they crisscross them. And everybody throughout this section here has you can have super high speed fast internet. But the cell phone towers technology, the only time I seen this type of stuff was on military equipment, on tanks, on certain planes, certain helicopters, I think even have them. The lead guy. Mm-hmm. So it's interesting what kind of technology. I almost wondered when they first started putting these towers up, I thought they might have been actually transmitting electricity through them. Because there's this huge cable that runs down here, right? Mm-hmm. I don't know. That's all I wanted to show.
That's the thing. The higher the frequency...
Sorry, mosquito.
The higher the frequency wave,
yep,
the higher the power necessary to broadcast it. Right? So these new 5G antennas they take more power because the signal does not go as far.
Screen share. All right. Yeah, because those towers are closer together. And then I have one that they put up across the lake from me, and it's a giant red cell tower. It's got to be a few hundred feet tall. And the internet's great. So, but you can continue with the... does the microwave fall under the same category as sound, where it has the inverse square law, where the further away you get from the signal, the weaker it is?
I think that's the way it is with all waves.
Great answer. Yeah, but is a particle a wave, or is it a...
Well, we're going to get up to speed of light, which I'm going to sort of like segue into something. So these are the waves that, you know, these 5G antennas, this is what we're supposed to be worried about, are radio waves.
Yeah, it was cool behind the cube. It was like animating it. You had it right where the cube was, man. You should have saw
Oh, no
that.
way. Like, I'll bring it back down.
More down. Down. And you're halfway. Excuse me. You might as well just go on. Go ahead.
Yeah. All right. So radio waves are a type of electromagnetic radiation with wavelengths in the electromagnetic spectrum longer than infrared light. Radio waves have frequencies as high as 300 gigahertz and as low as 30 hertz. At 300 gigahertz, the corresponding wavelength is one, I believe this is millimeter. And at 30, what?
It makes sense why that cell tower, the new ones that they're building, is a triangle shape. When I look at this image, it looks like they're trying to emulate the signal in all directions.
Yeah.
And a triangle does that, right? You have three strong directions.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of circular. I'm getting way too deep here.
That's all right. So they do say that, like all electromagnetic waves, radio waves travel at the speed of light. All right, so when I was reading this is one of those like AstroTurf results where we've never been able to independently verify the actual speed of light. We've had to hear from an authority that it's like this 186,000 miles per second or something like that. So Ronnie and I believe that we are in a simulation. And I was thinking about the speed of light, and Ronnie, I sort of bounce this off you. If you're editing clips and somewhere in the middle of the clip, you adjust the lighting in the scene where you adjust the gamma and the contrast and shadows and all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. And then you're watching back that scene. How long does it take for the light to disperse throughout the scene?
It's instant.
It's instant. It's with that frame. The frame that you adjusted, that frame right there, all of a sudden, it doesn't matter how big the depth of the scene is. You know, if in your scene you can see 10 miles, 20 miles or whatever, and the light didn't have to travel through that scene. The light was adjusted, and it happens that frame that it was adjusted, just bam. So speed of light, in my opinion, is instantaneous when it's turned on and instantaneous when it's turned off, just like it would be as it was playing through a video editor. You see that?
That's a really good point. There's just someone ripping on a boat. It's a great point. Like, and it's verifiable. It's testable.
Yeah. Yeah, but see, the atomists and materialists, they need to propagate this concept of a particle traveling.
Yeah.
It's part of
Jason in the chat, we'll get back to that particle traveling bit you just said. He said, what? Did I just hear you that you guys think we live in a simulation? Yeah, we literally say that we're in a Christian simulation. Or you could call it, or we've said like a supernatural realm. That's what we've said. That's how miracles can take place. That's there's so many things that we go to. When the Creator told Nicodemus, you have to be born again of the Holy Spirit, right, to enter the kingdom of heaven. Nicodemus was what? Like, what? How do I enter my mother's womb and be reborn? But Yahushua was saying the Spirit is like, it comes in and dwells in the avatar, right? It absolutely makes total sense now that we have the verbs or the dialect, or I can't. I lost the word.
I lost it too.
description. We have more descriptive. Maybe someone in the chat can help us out. But yeah, that's what we teach. That it's not a atomistic reality. It's a simulation, and then people, right off the bat they say, "Oh, then that means anything's possible." Right? That's what we hear. And,
lexicon. That's what I was looking for.
Lexicon, a better lexicon. That's right, a diverse lexicon. But no, it's not that you could do anything, because there's strict parameters. The cosmonautical constant is like 10 to the 10 to the 7,997 or something. It's so ridiculous, the odds that everything came into being. Like, the trees would need the water, would need the light, would have everything for life to happen. They say that we're the only habitable place in the universe. There's like some equation, and all this, really, you can really understand that. So in the simulation, only what renders to you is what matters. Like in a video game, you only see the part of the map that you're around, and when you move around on the map, you start to see different areas, and you lose that other section of the map that you could see before. And these parameters are what we can verifiably test and what we see. And there's really no debunking it, including the way that sundogs, halo, sprites, lightning, rainbows, the sun, the moon, all the luminaries, all of these things completely show you that you live in a supernatural realm.
Let's not forget eclipse shadows.
Eclipse shadows just take it right over the top. The very fact that the line of totality is only 70 miles wide. That's the thing that Owen Benjamin has just been going crazy on. Just like, oh yeah, you think the moon landing was real? He throws out, make anything, make a shadow with any object you want. You show me that you could make that shadow smaller than the object you're trying to shadow. It's impossible. Now, I want you to make that shadow happen so that the entire eclipse of the sun takes place in every single section where there's light in totality. And that's what the eclipse shadow is.
Yeah, and to Jason Treeminator, he says, how can you teach that? You can have that opinion, but that's not something you can prove. Well, apparently you haven't been paying attention, because we've literally proved that so many different ways, like Ronnie was rattling off. And if we were actually to sit down and go through all the different ways that we've proved that we're in a simulation, I don't know, we've got to have over 50, 75 actual literal proofs that we've been sharing with people for years now. Not a one of them's been debunked.
How about the Mandela effect? I showed you a video the other night where there's data companies that work in the food and beverage industry, and people are ordering shipments, and they're getting 40 cases of stovetop stuffing, and they're looking for Stofers, and they're getting Kraft. They're sending the products back. And this is happening across the board.
The Haas avocados. That one got me.
Which was supposedly discovered by a German scientist with the last name Haas, Haas. But now it was accidentally found by, his name was Hess, Hass.
No way, man. No way.
Yeah, there's so many different Mandela effects, and even the people that are in the Mandela community, they don't even realize, the first person was Philip K. Dick. I know, Philip Dick. For sure there was something going on with the guy's name. But in the 70s, we've already went through all this years ago. He was out there screaming that we live in a simulation, and the only time you people are going to believe me is when literal things start changing in reality. So we've literally seen them changing. And the Bible, I have a Mandela for you, Jason.
Okay.
The scripture that talks about, I should have wrote down that scripture. Even of the air still have places to gather and storehouses to fill. Yet they don't have any storehouses, yet they're still provided for. What's the blank of the air?
I'm sorry.
So the scripture is about, hang on, I'll look it up. I'll look it up real quick.
Please do.
Because it's a change. And when I show you,
Yeah, there's no doubt in my mind that to stay white, the Mandela effect has satanic roots to it.
here it is, Luke. Yeah, yeah, without a doubt, that was one of the first things that we were able to deduce through
And one of the things that I've shown a number of times is that Arwen, who's famous in the non-curved Earth, that he in comments to me on Skype, I've shared all the screenshots.
It's all documented. It's up on
All
your channel.
documented. He claims to have been part of a satanic ritual where he changed a word in the Bible.
Yeah, the word Baal.
He introduced the word
Baal
instead
of Lord.
Instead of Lord.
Yeah, that's what he claimed. You had that piece of information around the same time, maybe within a week or two of me meeting you. You did a hangout with him after we did a hangout, and then you did another hangout. I remember that was crazy. I got to learn a little bit about your style and technique then, because I saw the way you conducted yourself with that group. But you were still moving back to Christianity then, though. So let's get into this Mandela scripture effect here. Luke 12:24.
You want a screen share?
Nope. Okay. That'll give the Mandela away.
Okay.
The caption says, "Do not worry." So it starts at 23. Luke 12:23. For life is more than food, and the body more than clothes. Consider the blank. They do not sow or reap. They have no storehouse or barn. Yet Yahweh feeds them. How much more valuable are you than...
Well, I remember lilies of the field and birds of the air or something, right?
Okay, so it says, consider the ravens.
Okay.
They do not sow or reap. So I don't remember ravens there.
No, I've actually heard that one a while back. Because that whole raven crow thing, it's one of the agendas in a lot of switches.
Yeah, I could have swore that it was birds of the air.
Birds of the air, yeah.
All birds, not specifically ravens. But yeah, it seems to be in the NIV. It's in the King James. Interesting, right?
Yeah, sparrows is another one.
Sparrows, yeah. Might have been sparrows. That might be right. Interesting, though. But to me, that's a change. So the Mandela effect is another huge simulation realization. And any Christian that believes that Yahushua was able to feed 5,000 people with 3 fish, whatever it was, 5 fish, you got to ask yourself, how does that happen in an atomistic reality where you live in a Big Bang cosmology? It just can't. Doesn't. Oh, the other thing I wanted to just quickly interject before we get back to 5G was Owen Benjamin today was... what was I just going to say?
Owen Benjamin, what was he doing today?
No, what was I saying before that? Oh, he said something really ridiculous. But it was funny. I'll remember it after.
All right. So I'm just going to jump back into radio waves here. This paragraph right here is a few things that it's going to be real interesting, right? So radio waves are generated artificially by transmitters and received by radio receivers. So right here, this sort of contradicts a lot of heliocentrist propaganda because they are supposedly, picking up radio waves from the galactic background or whatever. And it says they're generated artificially by transmitters and received by radio receivers using antennas. Radio waves are very widely used in modern technology for fixed and mobile radio communication, broadcasting, radar, and other navigation systems, communication satellites, wireless computer networks, and many other applications. Different frequencies of radio waves have different propagation characteristics in the Earth's atmosphere. Long waves can diffract around obstacles like mountains and follow the contour of the ground, and then they subdivide this to ground waves. Shorter waves can reflect off the ionosphere and return to the Earth beyond the horizon, and they call these sky waves. While much shorter wavelengths bend or diffract very little and travel in a line of sight. Now, this is something that we've been covering real heavily, what that line of sight is and exactly how far away it is. And so their propagation distances are limited to the visual horizon. It's really huge, because it really all has to do with the height, the perspective,
Yes.
as far as how far that signal can travel. And this is the more direct signals. So I think what I was working with the K and KA, the direct TV, that had to have been these sky waves. All right. And the ground waves, my guess is it's probably actually using the Earth as its medium for.
Yes. That's what I theorized for a long time, because I do remember seeing military gear where they actually laid a mat down on the ground for communication. Right?
When it says long waves can diffract around obstacles like mountains and follow the contour of the Earth. Well,
oh,
that could be fantastic psyop language for saying that we're transmitting the signal through the Earth, right?
yeah.
And then they do have ground waves there. So, to prevent interference, you got the International Telecommunications Union, your Freemasons Union, New World Order. They define radio waves as electromagnetic waves of frequencies arbitrarily lower than 3,000 gigahertz propagated in space without artificial guide. So you got how they were discovered. This, amazingly, all right, so radio waves were first predicted by mathematical work done in 1867. That's interesting. So then, when was it? 1912? No, mid-1890s. Radio waves, originally called Hertzian waves. So we still have Hertz, but they were originally Hertzian waves, were first used for communication in the mid-1890s by Marconi. So I guess
Italian, right?
Yeah.
Probably Sicilian.
So
it's probably a German. Sorry.
Speed, wavelength, and frequency. Now, this whole vacuum thing, there's probably some psyop going on there. Radio waves in a vacuum at the speed of light. So I do believe that the speed of light is instantaneous, and light travels through regular air. I don't think you have to vacuum the air, but when passing through a material medium, they are slowed according to that object's permeability and permittivity. Absolutely. So if it's very humid, that would affect it. So they're saying here that radio waves travel very close to the speed of light because Earth's atmosphere is so thin.
So the modern science does have a term for what you're referring to as instantaneously. They call it quantum entanglement, because something it reacts instantaneously to the other choice, right?
Just like the change in a frame in a video, just bam, it's all of a sudden different, right then and there. So propagation, this is going to be important because we're talking about 5G towers. How do these radio signals propagate? So radio waves passing through different environments experience reflection, refraction, polarization, diffraction, and absorption. Different frequencies experience different combinations of these phenomena in the Earth's atmosphere, making certain radio bands more useful for specific purposes than others. Practical radio systems mainly use 3 different techniques of radio propagation to communicate. So here are our 3 different ways that we get our radio signals. Line of sight. This refers to radio waves that travel in a straight line from the transmitting antenna to the receiving antenna. Does not necessarily require a cleared sight path. At lower frequency, radio waves can pass through buildings, foliage, and other obstructions. This is the only method of propagation possible at frequencies above 30 megahertz. That's an important statement. So, line of sight. This is the only method of propagation possible at frequencies above 30 megahertz. On the surface of Earth, line of sight propagation is limited by the visual horizon to about 40 miles.
Interesting.
So for anything above, they're saying this is the only method of propagation possible at frequencies above 30 megahertz. Line of sight propagation is limited by the visual horizon, about 40 miles. This is the method used by cell phones, FM, television broadcasting, and radar. By using dish antennas to transmit beams of microwaves, point-to-point microwave relay links transmit telephone and television signals over long distances up to the visual horizon. You see that? I'm going to highlight that whole sentence.
Yeah, that's great.
Take your screenshot right there. Over long distances up to the visual horizon. Ground stations can communicate with satellites and spacecraft billions of miles from Earth. You see how we have real information, then all of a sudden they just barf. Indirect propagation. The radio waves can reach points beyond the line of sight by diffraction and reflection. Diffraction allows a radio wave to bend around obstructions such as a building edge, a vehicle, or a turn in a hall. Radio waves also partially reflect from surfaces such as walls, floors, ceilings, vehicles, and the ground. These propagation methods occur in short-range radio communication systems such as cell phones, cordless phones, walkie-talkies, and wireless networks. The drawback of this mode is multi-path propagation, in which radio waves travel from the transmitting to the receiving antenna via multiple paths. The waves interfere, often causing fading and other reception problems. We got ground waves and sky waves. So at lower frequencies below 2 megahertz in the medium wave and long wave bands, due to diffraction, vertically polarized radio waves can bend over hills and mountains and propagate beyond the horizon, traveling as surface waves which follow the contour of the Earth. This allows medium wave and long range broadcasting stations to have coverage areas beyond the horizon out to hundreds of miles. As the frequency drops, the losses decrease and the achievable range increases. As the frequency drops, the losses decrease and the achievable range increases. So it's got to be low frequency, low military, very low frequency, VLF, and extremely low frequency, ELF, communication systems can communicate over most of the Earth, and with submarines hundreds of feet underwater. They're using the Earth as the medium with low frequencies. Sky waves. At medium wave and short wavelengths, radio waves reflect off conductive layers of charged particles in a part of the atmosphere called the ionosphere. So radio waves directed at an angle into the sky can return to Earth beyond the horizon. This is called SKIP, or skywave propagation. By using multiple skips, communication at intercontinental distances can be achieved. Skywave propagation is variable and dependent on atmospheric conditions. It is most reliable at night and in the winter. Widely used during the first half of the 20th century, due to its unreliability, skywave communication has mostly been abandoned.
Mhm.
Remaining uses are by military over-the-horizon radar systems.
Yeah, that's a lie, because anybody who has dish cable,
Yeah.
they point the direction is the bounced. It's like a pool shot with the signal. It was actually invented, I believe, in the 30s. It was called the Lowrance, right? Long over the Lowrance over the horizon system. That's how they did it, right? They bounced it off the sky. So it's still widely used.
Nope. And just a little bit more detail here. They can be separated in the receiver because each transmitter's radio waves oscillate at a different rate. In other words, each transmitter has a different frequency measured in kilohertz, megahertz, or gigahertz. So there's a little bit of confusion with 5G because it doesn't actually mean that it's operating at 5 gigahertz. Right? I think the actual usage of the term 5G just refers to fifth generation of cell phone signal.
Okay.
They're not actually broadcasting at 5 gigahertz. So that comes from here, 5G. 5G is generally seen as the fifth generation cellular network technology that provides broadband access. So what we're skipping through here looking for is the frequency that it's running at. So here, Verizon opened service on a very limited number of base stations in the US cities of Chicago and Minneapolis using 400 megahertz of 28 gigahertz. This is millimeter wave spectrum in NSA mode.
NSA mode. That just sounds wrong.
It is wrong. It is wrong. There's more about the bands that they're using. Where did I have that? So here's what frequency is 4G. Here we go. 5G will use spectrum in the existing LTE frequency range, the 600 megahertz to 6 gigahertz. So I guess some of the signal frequencies will actually be more than 5 gigahertz. It'll go up to the 6 gigahertz range, and also in millimeter wave bands, 24 through 86 gigahertz. So these different companies, we're getting a call. Come on, where'd it go?
Accept.
That's the wrong one. That's the wrong one. I can't get to a new tab because it's in the way. Stop it. I didn't have this open yet.
Somebody's interested. It's an hour in, but yeah, I'm getting it all. Yeah, call back again, caller, and Jason will get it.
Why is it? Why do I lose it when I? Where do I find that again? There, I'll find it here. Now I can find it. All right. Well, we'll see if they call back. I don't know why that was so difficult. So the frequency of 5G, it's varied. There we go. Hello, you are live on Awake Souls.
Hey, hello.
How are you doing?
Hi.
It's okay. I had it muted. I got mod controls now.
Yeah.
So
Hi.
I know I had it muted.
Like I didn't know something like that was coming.
Yeah, I was thinking someone was trying to troll us because whenever we touch on topics, so the chemtrails we got trolled a lot on because it was the same type of fear porn that's going on with this 5G. So really, what the main point of tonight, before we get into real callers, is you've pointed out here that we've been using this amount of signal for a long time, for like 20 years.
Well, if you've had one of these things, or if you've had
I'll be right back.
an AM FM tuner, or if you've had satellite television, or you've had a walkie-talkie, you've been using radio frequencies your whole life. And have they cooked you? This is probably the same person. No. The did this cook you? Could this cook an egg? If you sat an egg next to this, could this cook the egg? And then I guess there's the topic of the mind control. Can a radio signal, like what, when you're listening to the radio, can it control your mind? The signal itself. Well, what's being carried on the signal can definitely control your mind, for sure. In fact, I think all the music that you're going to hear on the radio is going to be created by somebody that sold their soul to the devil, because otherwise it wouldn't be on the radio. And so there's going to be lots of messages in the music that are not good and control your mind. But they don't literally have control of your body. Listening to a song doesn't they don't take over control of your body. Like, you're not going to be able to steer you off the road or something like that. There would have to be a conscious choice of your own because of something that you heard in the music. So I am not saying that 5G is not dangerous. It's definitely dangerous. It is going to increase the bandwidth. One of the places I read in here, it's probably in this 5G article, which is over here, that has to do with the amount of service that can be provided per square meter as opposed to our 4G signal. And because of that, what that means is that Big Brother is going to have the absolute best surveillance on us ever. Absolutely ever. Where was that? This is where it's being rolled out. sort of interesting. There are some new radio frequencies being introduced with this 5G technology. We need to know what it is that's in the air. And so it says the air interface defined by 3GPP as new radio, NR. The specifications is subdivided into two frequency bands, FR1 below 6 gigahertz and FR2, which is millimeter wave, each with different capacities. So frequency range 1, the maximum channel bandwidth defined for FR1 is 100 megahertz due to the scarcity of continuous spectrum in this crowded frequency range. The band most widely being used for 5G in this range is around 3.5 gigahertz. The Korean carriers using 3.5 gigahertz, although some millimeter wave spectrum has been allocated. We have frequency range 2. The minimum channel bandwidth defined for FR2 is 50 megahertz and the maximum is 400 megahertz, with 2-channel aggregation supported. Verizon's using 28 gigahertz and AT&T is using 39 gigahertz. 5G can use frequencies up to 300 gigahertz. The higher the frequency, the greater the ability to support high data transfer speeds without interfering with other wireless signals or becoming overly cluttered. Due to this, 5G can support approximately 1,000 more devices per meter than 4G. I mean, that's it in a nutshell right there, people. They're using higher frequencies to push more data. These are just on radio waves. You're not being cooked. But what they have now is way more ability to, surveil you, right? They can now, instead of security cameras all running at like 720, a bare minimum, resolution for being able to see what's going on in a scene. Now all of a sudden it's going to be 4K surveillance cameras everywhere because they'll be able to push that bandwidth through this system. Now, because it's higher frequencies, they don't travel as far and they have to put the antennas closer to you. But still, if we go back to that picture one more time, if it's not cooking the egg, it's not cooking you. These guys aren't going to go up on the tower like this with the antennas on. This would create radio heating. So radio waves do heat things. That goes back to, we're back in the radio wave Wikipedia here. Let's look at the biological and environmental effects. Radio waves are non-ionizing radiation, which means that they do not have enough energy to separate electrons from atoms or molecules, ionizing them or break chemical bonds, causing chemical reaction or DNA damage. So these, we're being told right up front, radio waves do not have the strength to do that type of chemical bond breakdown. The main effect of absorption of radio waves by materials is to heat them, similarly to the infrared waves radiated by sources of heat such as a space heater or wood fire. The oscillating electric field of the wave caused polar molecules to vibrate back and forth, increasing the temperature. It says this is how a microwave oven cooks food, but they're not using radio waves because they're not strong enough. They're using microwaves. Right?
Yeah. I've actually got a video about this. How a human is formed from a single cell.
Yeah.
It's through radio waves. Right? The sound.
Makes sense.
And
do you want to play it or?
No. The sound and the vibration. It's got a couple airs.
Yeah.
It's a great video though if anyone wants to check it out. As well as I have a video about the speed of light as well. But yeah, it completely explains it. The study that I saw was he was ripping like leaves, and he was able to pick up the light emanating out of the leaf, and he was able to figure out how to use a radio wave or a microwave, and then you blast a certain area, and then you vibrate the body's cells back into harmony, and whatever damage that was there, you're actually healed of. It's sort of like the thing that they use on Star Trek, right?
Well, there's actually talk of that in this article, I believe, they were used in that type of homeopathic therapy. Yeah, it's coming up pretty soon. Diathermy is coming up.
Okay. Yeah.
Let's see here. So, however, unlike infrared waves, which are mainly absorbed at the surface of objects and cause surface heating, radio waves are able to penetrate the surface and deposit their energy inside materials and biological tissues. The depth to which radio waves penetrate decreases with their frequency. You see that?
Yeah.
The depth to which radio waves penetrate decrease with their frequency. So we are dealing with higher frequency waves with this 5G. So the depth to which it can penetrate decreases, and also depends on the material's resistivity and permittivity.
Resistivity.
Resistivity. It is given by a parameter called the skin depth of the material, which is the depth within which 63% of the energy is deposited. For example, the 2.4 gigahertz, it says here radio waves, but it's very poorly written, because then in parentheses, microwaves in a microwave. So these words do not belong here. This is going to mess people up. 2.4 gigahertz microwaves in a microwave oven penetrate most foods approximately 2.5 to 3.8 centimeters, or 1 to 1.5 inches. Radio waves have been applied to the body for 100 years in the medical therapy of diathermy for deep heating of body tissue to promote increased blood flow and healing. More recently, they have been used to create higher temperatures in hypothermia treatment and to kill cancer cells. Looking into a source of radio waves at close range, such as the waveguide of a working radio transmitter, can cause damage to the lens of the eye by heating. A strong enough beam of radio waves can penetrate the eye and heat the lenses enough to cause cataracts. This is putting your eye right up to the transmitter of something that's blasting radio waves. So since the heating effect is in principle no different from other sources of heat, most research into possible health hazards of exposure to radio waves is focused on non-thermal effects, whether radio waves have any effect on tissues besides that caused by heating. So you've got your groups out there that are going to say that it's cancer causing, but that's going to be your fear porn trying to get you to believe it.
How can it be cancer causing when that's what they use to eradicate cancer?
Yeah, it's they create higher temperatures in hypothermia treatment and to kill cancer cells.
Yeah, what they do is they blast the area and then they turn it real low. That's what the video that I did, and then they continue to hit it with that same frequency. And the body has a frequency, and then they just tune those cells back into, so the cancer cell is like, when it's not, a section of your body isn't vibrating correctly. I know it's so weird, but it actually makes total sense when you understand that you're living in a simulation.
Yeah, to Chase Galtney, if you have any information to prove that this is not correct, could you please send Ronnie and I an email? My email is awakesouls@gmail.com, and Ronnie's is awakeeple, AWAKEEPLE @gmail.com. So, like, the information that I've been coming across, and I understand that Wikipedia is heavily controlled, astroturfed, all that. But they do place microwave in between infrared and radio as a different electromagnetic spectrum. So I don't claim to be an expert about this, but I believe this should be open research that as a community we can talk about and not be fear porn, but actually know and understand what's taking place.
Yeah, totally. Back-ass Words, Weird World had some pretty interesting that the 5G will be able to virtually map reality in real time. So I kind of think that might actually be what's taking place. It's basically the principalities of the air setting up their own watch system. He's trying to mimic the creator, Satan, and he's using the internet and 5G. So I do believe that everything will be basically running on a simulation real time. And I think this is disastrous for the implications of being in a simulation as well.
Yeah, well, this world's under control by some horrible people. So to give them more control.
And the other thing, sometimes I wonder if there has been places that were dumping toxic waste and got into the water table maybe. And what they're doing now is they're going to try to blame the cell towers to take the onus. I could see big corporations using the guise of 5G for the causes of illnesses when it's really some other cheap corporation that just dumped their stuff off the side of a hill, right?
So here's another radio wave that most of us have been blasted with, this Bluetooth signal. Wireless LAN protocols such as Bluetooth and IEEE 802.11 is your Wi-Fi. Also use microwaves in the 2.4 gigahertz ISM band. So here's the 2.4 gigahertz. Here's the 5 gigahertz. That is what your wireless routers are running on. So we've got these signals all around us. We're not dead yet. Beamforming. This is interesting. Beamforming, as the name suggests, is used to direct radio waves to a target. This is achieved by combining elements in an antenna array in such a way that signals at particular angles experience constructive interference while others experience destructive interference. This improves signal quality and data transfer speeds. Because of the improved signal quality, 5G uses beamforming. So I don't remember where it is that I had read about this, but basically from these antennas, the signal is being broadcast from the multiple antennas, and your device, like your cell phone, is communicating with multiple antennas. And because it's so accurate, the computer, as far as the times that it takes for the signal to come back in, it can pinpoint your location, like triangulate it, and the antenna itself can actually beamform and create a beam to you that's going to be like the best beam possible using multiple different signals.
See, I once theorized, speculated that our avatars were being beamed down from like a star as a projection into this reality. I
visualized that as well. I have. Well, I don't know. That's sort of what I have for 5G. Do you have anything else?
No, just basically, I thought you nailed all the points. Oh, I guess the music's a bit loud here. That we've been dealing with the 5G or the gigahertz, and I don't see how it's going to get that much worse than what we've been dealing with. Now, I'm not an expert. I've got lots to learn. I can be wrong on things, but I think the fear porn is just fear porn, and we have nothing to worry about.
Mm-hmm. Large large millimeter array parabolic antenna surveillance radar. So this is running at 2.7 to 2.9 gigahertz. So they pick different frequencies for different reasons based on what they're planning on doing with it, how far they want to transmit it, and how much data they want to be able to carry on that signal.
Yep. It's interesting. There's the axis of evil in that flat line.
It is.
The ellipsoid or whatever. And that other picture there, it looks, if anyone's ever seen, there's a cartoon called Futurama. They had a scientist who would stick his nose into that thing and smell with it. That it's pretty funny.
Here's our microwave. Keep in mind, this is using 2.45 gigahertz microwaves, not radio waves. They're different. They would be saying they're using radio waves if they're using radio waves.
Yeah, there's the moving this towards free energy. There's a guy that goes by Jamzen, and he talks about, I think it's 13.5 gigahertz, and he wants to vibrate water, salt water even, and then 13.56. What did I say? Did I say 13.5? I guess 13.56 megahertz. He calls it the Kansius effect, and he thinks that we could power the entire civilization. We could teach at a high school level people how to build their own Kansius machines where they could microwave the water and turn it into fuel. So.
Oh, nice.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well,
so you got the number open? I'll put it in the chat.
Okay. See if anybody wants to call in that's going to have a real conversation.
I don't know if Derek's here or Ilias. We haven't seen them in a while. Anybody else has?
Here we go. Here's some of our first microwave communication experiments. Back in 1931, they were using 1.7 gigahertz microwave relay link across the English Channel.
We've been joined by Derek. Derek Laborde. He's probably got something to add on to the 5G topic.
How's it going, man?
Not too bad. How are you?
Doing well.
Oh, there we go. I don't have too much to add on to the 5G topic. I've been saying for a little while that, I mean, people are really hung up thinking that we're being poisoned, our food's being poisoned, our air's being poisoned, our clothes, like we're just being poisoned on all these levels. But if you think about the absurd amount of resources and money that would require to just blanket poison the whole world population, and somehow just like a fraction of a percent group of people are aware and able to navigate through the poisons. I don't know. I mean, the elite have to live in the same world that we do, so it wouldn't make sense that they're gonna blanket poison everything and then have to live amongst the poison with the rest of us.
Yeah, I figured that out in the truth community really fast with deep underground bases. When everyone was saying the elite are they're gonna crash everything and go underground. It's like, do you really think that they want to give up their cottages, their vacations, their trips on the boat, their opera night to go live in a tube?
Live in some dank dungeon somewhere.
Yeah.
Where they're not gonna be top dogs. Someone stronger than you is gonna take what you have.
Yeah. And then I mean, on top of that, if you consider how easy it is to fool somebody into believing they're being poisoned, and how that can actually do just as much damage, if not more. I mean, your brain's going to manifest whatever your conscious mind believes is true. So if you're running around with all that subconscious stress of, oh, there's another 5G tower. Oh, there's another 5G tower. Shoot, there's a whole bunch more chemtrails. Oh my gosh, what's on my food? I didn't get to wash it. Like, if you're carrying around all that stress, you're going to start manifesting some serious symptoms of all the things you're thinking that you're avoiding. When in reality, if they are poisoning everything, really the only hope you have is just to pray and surrender it. Because, I mean, how great is our God that there's obviously no poison here that he didn't put here. Everything on this
Wait,
in
what
this
about
realm was created by him.
John of Patmos? That was the scriptures always related him as the one that Yahushua loved, the disciple Yahushua loved.
Mm-hmm.
They tried to kill him like what, 4 different ways. He didn't die.
Yep. Yeah. So I think it is hardcore fear porn, and they've got so many avenues and so many different people who are just passively driving the nail in, not realizing they're just kind of perpetuating the narrative and adding to the problem. I mean, that being said, I do think there are some real core issues that some real agendas that are going on that aren't for the good of the people, and that are continuously keeping the hospitals and the cancer wards chocked full with people. I mean, they have a never-ending waiting list that will continue to grow and grow and grow.
I sometimes wonder if the doctors just say, "Oh, you have that." I know there are a lot of people that are sick too. I'm not going to say that's not true, but I never trust them with the snake on the staff sign.
Yeah. It's very sad, and I mean, I'm kind of living in the middle of it right now with my grandfather and everything that's happened with him. I've seen firsthand the effects of the pharmakia and everything that Western medicine has to offer as far as quote unquote health goes. There is a hard agenda there to make returning customers. I mean, a doctor is nothing but a salesman. His job is to sell you whatever products are allegedly going to help you while also lining his pockets, and he wants you on long-term medication so that you keep getting it refilled and he keeps getting paid. That's not the case with 100% of doctors. There are some good ones out there, but the commanding majority are nothing more than salespeople. They're drug pushers. They have no idea the side effects of the medications they're pushing. They're just trying to collect bonuses and payouts from the pharmaceutical companies.
Well, for a lot of them, the options are limited. Like if they practice at a certain hospital or something like that, or group, that group will define which companies, which pharmaceutical companies, can even sell their stuff there. So it's not like all options are available. Like, they're limited to the ones that are sold within that organization, and then they got to try to make a best decision from those. So it's not even like they have full control over what they can prescribe you. Yeah,
I just think that, I mean, I've been through it. I was diagnosed. I hate that word, but that's what happened. Was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis at 16, and there was a pretty rough few years that followed that. And I came to real early terms with my body was designed by the Creator. There's absolutely nothing that mankind can introduce to my body that the Creator hasn't given me a better system for already. And He's given us the tools to health and vitality here in this realm. Like, He gave Adam and Eve everything they would need to survive and to thrive. I mean, given there would be hardships and trials, but really, I mean, mankind is nothing but an obstruction to what the body does naturally. I mean, we add things that are unnecessary for the sake of comfort, when oftentimes that added comfort that we're getting comes at the expense of our well-being.
So do you feel like MS is something that still affects you?
No, honestly, I haven't had any issues in many years. It was really never that severe. They told me when they diagnosed me that I wouldn't walk past 25 and likely wouldn't live past 30. which, I mean, that sent me into a pretty wild depression. They said, oh, you got to quit playing sports. You got to keep your body cool, no stress. Just, try to nerf your whole lifestyle. I'm just like, all right, well, I surf, I skate, I ride BMX, I play football. So I literally had to bring all that to a grinding halt. And it sent me into a pretty hard depression. And they put me on a medication, which caused a whole downward spiral within my health over a very short period of time. The shorthand version of the story is I had to give myself a shot in the leg very frequently, which the side effects are suicidal depression. And I started having some crazy thoughts, and I've never been a suicidal person, no matter what happens. But that medication changed something in my brain, and I stopped taking it, and the clouds parted. And I realized real quick that, like, whatever happens. The quality of life that I have on this medication, even if it might slow down the progression of MS, is not worth living. I would rather just take the hand that's dealt to me and not try to sidestep what the creator put on my plate. So, I struggled with real minor symptoms for like about a decade. I would get random numb spots on my legs or on my face, one time on my tongue, but just random places, and they would last sometimes 4 to 6 months, and then from one day to the next it would just disappear. But that was like the extent. And I haven't even had that in a very long time, especially since I came to realize, we're in a simulation, and whatever you're keeping in your mind is what's going to manifest. So if you're certain that you're in good health and that all your systems are functioning as they should, that your body's going to follow suit.
That's brilliant. It's one of the most practical knowledges that we can have with understanding that we're in a simulation.
And when you think about really like how well designed the human body is, it's flabbergasting. And then you think about maybe the most brilliant mind that's in the world today alive, and he's a caveman in comparison to the complexity of that body. So you tell me what a caveman's going to do to modify a microchip that's going to be to the benefit of the microchip.
Yeah,
that the creator designed your microchip. He gave you all the systems you need. I mean, that being said, there are vitamins and things you can do nutritionally, obviously, to boost your quality of life and your energy and your health. But when it comes to actual medicines and antibiotics and steroids and anything that interrupts your body's natural Yahweh given process, it's really just introducing like a monkey as a pit car mechanic at a NASCAR race. Like mankind has no business rifling inside the creator's temple.
Yeah, that's a good point. I have a way that I use a metaphor. It's basically like when you look at what mankind has built, the most amazing flying supersonic vehicle is no comparison to the construction and the design of the avatar we're in, because it actually gets stronger with time.
Yeah.
Nothing we've ever created has ever. Imagine building a crane that the more times you use the crane, the better, stronger the crane will get.
Over time, it wears in instead of wearing out.
Yeah. But that's what our bodies do.
Yeah, they're insane. I mean, they literally are designed to adapt to any scenario. You put yourself in the most extreme heat for a couple of weeks, your body will acclimate to it. You do the most extreme cold properly for a few weeks, your body will acclimate. Like, no matter what you subject yourself to, your body will rise to the occasion. And there's not much you can do to yourself that your body can't overcome on its own. I mean, there's little things you can do to assist. Obviously, you break a limb, you get a compound fracture, you need a cast, or you need a bone reset.
Yeah, you'd make sure it's set straight, right?
Yeah, but beyond that, I mean, set the body back in the position that it's supposed to be.
Because once the bone grows back together in that spot, it's actually stronger there than when it was before.
Yeah. if that's not evidence of intelligent design, I don't know what is. Like, it's mind-boggling. That's like a brick that you could break, and all of a sudden it regenerates stronger than it was before you broke it. Like, where is this material at for us to make buildings out of?
So someone in the chat had said that they think that they're using all this technology and they're manipulating the weather. I think, if anything, they're trying to read the weather. And when we go to the scriptures, it says Mark 4:39 through 40. It says, "Then Yahushua got up and rebuked the wind and the sea. 'Silence!' he commanded. 'Be still!' And the wind died down, and it was perfectly calm. 'Why are you so afraid?' he asked. 'Do you still have no faith?' Overwhelmed with fear, they asked one another, 'Who is this, that even the wind and the sea obey him?'" So ultimately, the Creator has all control.
I love that scripture.
What I think is happening with weather manipulation, this is speculation, is that because what we hold in mind tends to manifest, the Weather Channel has become like one of the number one watched things on television. Like, so many people are tuned into the weather. So by manipulating the content on there and whipping people up into a frenzy, I think they can fear porn up a whole bunch of destruction. All right, it's a possibility that I've contemplated, that if their models, if their weather models that they're showing, if instead of it being like real time actual, if what they're doing is predicting modeling something out that everybody else is then giving their blessing to their. So I think that there's people praying for, like Ronnie just read, praying for the peace, for the weather to be calm, for the waters to be stilled. And then there's a whole mass of people that are just really into the doom porn and looking for some sort of cataclysm.
Storm chasers.
Yeah.
You guys want to know something else that's crazy? The government in Canada today just said that it was constitutional and lawful to raise everyone's taxes because of carbon emission. Isn't that crazy?
They're adding a fart tax, huh?
And Canada creates like almost the most oxygen. The whole map.
There's a lot of plants up there.
A lot of trees. Right?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a loud
When you
moon.
really think about that concept at its core, trees eat carbon, right? So what they're doing is charging you a tax to feed the trees.
Yes.
What they're trying to do is starve the trees from the food that they need.
Absolutely, I agree with that.
Yeah. Because the more carbon, the more our plants are just going to thrive.
Yeah, well,
putting out more oxygen.
Yeah.
Anybody who's ever grown marijuana knows that.
Yeah, I just lost my train of thought. Oh no, there's people that have said that carbon-based life could actually be a lot larger in scale. Maybe before the flood, there was a lot more carbon. You can look at the sediment layers that were laid down from the pumping and moving of the water, and you can read how much carbon, and it was probably thriving. So it's just so ridiculous that we're in a place now where, because everybody knows now that Google has been exposed and YouTube as promoting fake content, right? Like propaganda and mind control. So modern science is doing the exact same thing, if not worse. Right? Like the person that said if you don't let your dog hump another dog, you're like homophobic, and it got published. Right? There was a big spoof article that they wrote. Like, the other thing too, if anyone's been watching, I know I'm scatterbrained tonight, but the G20 summit's going on. Oh, go ahead. Did you want to comment?
Oh, me?
No, I thought Jason did. I keep cutting him off.
No, I didn't say anything.
Oh, okay. I thought I heard you. It's the G20's going on, and they're all denouncing liberalism. The whole world. except
Well-
for the west coast of the United States. China. Go ahead.
That is what Albert Pike was talking about. That atheist group was going to be. They were going to be like torn up, right? Didn't he say something to that effect?
He was going to unleash the absolute nihilist atheists after
Yes.
he pitted the Zionists and the Muslims against each other.
Yes.
That was what his plan was. But it's just interesting that Putin, China, Korea, South Korea, they're all like going against socialism and liberalism. They're like going actually Putin is talking about, becoming more of a God-fearing country. He's working very hard at that as well. It's like that's what's going on. And then you got United States, the Democrats speaking Spanish or whatever, Mexican, and talking about like, I don't know if they've been talking about killing babies after they're born and all that crap. Like, yes, like it's so crazy, you guys. I'm just baffled.
That'll be coming up. I haven't watched any of the debates yet.
It's bad.
It's absurd what they can say to people in the news and the media, just out in the world, without people really batting an eye, or like even stopping to think about what they just heard about, like full-term abortion and all the issues at the forefront of the whole social justice warrior scene. What, like, trannies are all of a sudden representing the rights of the masses when we're talking about like a 0.5% group of the population, if that, maybe like 0.1%.
And it's a mental illness that leads to it's leading to pedophilia, right? Like,
Yeah.
We need to take the mic back away from those people and pray for them, right?
Yeah. It's I don't know that we'll have the opportunity to take the mic back away. I think anybody who says take the mic away from these people is going to be called a hate criminal and likely facing heavy persecution.
Yeah. And you got the Noahide laws, right? With the 600 subsections.
Yeah.
And that debate, I don't know if Derek, you've been hearing about that. That's getting really heated up. Now this is the other thing. We need to be specific when we're talking about certain groups of people. Not all Jews run the world and Hollywood and pedophiles, and no, those ones do, right? And a lot of people get that blurred.
Yeah,
You can't paint with the broad brush.
it's designed to be blurred like that. It's very intentional. They're masquerading. It says they're not really Jews. The Bible does.
Yeah, that's correct. It's I don't know about this reality.
Well, hopefully something big changes. I know my wife and I are praying for it. It hasn't been any better here than it is in the worst parts of the world. Things have been insane in the Laborde household and with my family. So we're ready to exit this reality whenever the Creator sees fit to come take us home.
Me too. I just have a hard time finding joy in this world when it's just so unfair. So unfair. Like even if I'm not doing so bad, like the fact that it's just unfair and I can see that it's unfair drives me nuts. I like things to be fair.
Yeah. It's pretty sad. On some better news, so I had a pretty cool experience. I've been pretty torn up the last few days about my grandfather, and decided, because they were gonna put him on hospice, and that basically means making you comfortable while you slowly starve to death. And I just was not at peace with that. And I went to go see him, and I started a fast when I found out they were putting him on hospice and he couldn't eat. I'm like, all right, well, if he can't eat, I'm not going to eat again until he passes, because I can't bring myself to eat knowing that he's starving. So I started this fast praying that either Yahushua would remove him or perform a miracle and help him get a meal down and be able to swallow, because he wasn't able to swallow, so he couldn't drink water. His mouth was all dried out. His lips were bleeding and all cracked up. And I went home that night after praying over him, and I told him, like, Grandpa, you have a real tough decision ahead of you. You got to choose between hospice or them installing a feeding tube, but you can't really handle the anesthesia. You're 82 and your body already has bad reactions to anesthesia. So, like, I don't know if he even really comprehended it, but I told him, like, I'm praying for you. You got to give us a sign if you're not supposed to be on hospice. If you want to live, you really need to give us a sign. And then this morning I got a call when I was going to see him, still all broken up and feeling sorry for myself. And the call was to tell me that he ate his entire breakfast, drank his water, drank his juice. He got up out of bed and did some physical therapy and walked around the hospital a little bit. And so I rushed down to go see him, and he was sleeping. He was a little bit worn out. But then they told me once again, oh, well, we think we're still going to keep the hospice order because the speech therapist said that he's still having a hard time swallowing. So just essentially what you're telling me again is that because he might choke because it's 3 days after he had a stroke and he's still learning how to swallow again, you think that it's justifiable to take away his food and water and just let him starve to death so that he doesn't choke and die. Like, how does that? So I had that conversation with my aunt, who has power of attorney over him. I was just like, you're the one that's going to have to live with this guilt. Like, make no mistake about it. You're sending him to his executioner by signing that hospice order. He told you he wants to live. That means he has the right to continue trying to live for as long as he's capable of doing it. So I left the hospital kind of discouraged again. And about an hour and a half ago, I got a phone call from my aunt saying that they decided to reverse the hospice order and they're going to send him to a physical therapy for a couple weeks and then send him back to his assisted living facility just under the same order he was before, which is just like normal mild assistance. So, and I made the decision at the hospital that I was going to continue my fast when I heard that it was the hospice order was still on. I'm like, all right, well, if once again he's not able to eat because they stopped his food again, like, then I'm going to continue not eating. And it must have only been 4 or 5 hours of walking around just feeling miserable because I was hungry. And I got the phone call saying that he was being served dinner. His IV bag was hooked up again, so he was rehydrated, being moved for physical therapy. Literally every single one of my prayers was answered within like 36 hours of starting my fast.
Wow.
Mind blowing.
That's so huge, because like, it's confirmation that you are being heard by Yahweh.
Yeah.
And that you are your strong determinations seem to be having an effect on the way things are manifesting as well.
It's so true. I've watched it each and every single day, just like trying to center myself and thinking about my intentions for the day and aligning them with the will of the Creator, and then just things continuously keep unfolding in my grandfather's favor, just exactly the way that usually it's even better than I anticipate or ask for, because the Creator's plan is always better than our own. It's like he's way ahead of me already, anticipating my grandpa's needs and taking care of him as quickly as I can offer up the requests.
It's a really, really, really tough topic, talking about death, and the prospect of it. And I know it shatters people. And the one thing I want to add is how blessed it is that he's doing better. But on the other hand, when we die, we're out of here. If you set yourself up, from my experience with dealing with death, if you tell yourself, Yahushai, do this, and it doesn't work for you, you're setting yourself up for a huge battle with faith. But on the other hand, Yahushai mourned when it was time to mourn, but I think we all have our time. I feel there's, when people we're close to in our lives pass and they go to the other reality, I feel we all get boosted. At least in my experience in life, I've been boosted each and every time anything I've encountered has passed away. And, I just wanted to add that as a positive side note to, even if it didn't work out and it was time for him to go home. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. I think that, his heart is so close to being right with the Creator, but he's got a lot of pride, as do most people, with the amount of money that he has. And so I think that I've just been begging for a chance to talk with him further and to be more of a witness to him, and to maybe lead him in prayer to where I can actually verify for myself that he has accepted the gift that Yahushai has already given him. I'm trying to show him, he'll meet you right where you're at. You don't have to change anything. Just accept the gift that's already been given to you. You're right there on the doorstep. Why do you even want to roll the dice?
Yeah, it's not like he's at a time in his life where he's thinking about going out and committing some sin. His life's probably pretty simple and pretty pure right now.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Well, I'm thinking he's being given another chance. I'm hoping, because I don't know. I've been barking up that tree for a while. It'll be a little bit disappointing if I don't get some sort of success there with it.
Well, I think Ronnie was trying to prep you so that, because sometimes we run into situations where people really close to us that we love, they choose the other path, and so we want to somehow be prepared for that happening sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it can happen in the worst of ways, everybody. I've heard interviews on this radio station that I used to listen to of, I even think Coach Dungy, I think he lost 3 children. 3.
The Colts, right?
It was the coach of the Colts, that's right. And when I heard his testimony, it just floored me that he was so humble, still able to talk about the Creator. And so, yeah, the topic of passing away and all this is too. My brother-in-law was diagnosed with cancer, and so he's got to go through all these surgeries and radiation. So we could all pray for him. And on the other hand, he's not a religious person. He's like, I think he's acting like, because he's sick now, if he caves in, he's weaker of a man, maybe.
Yeah.
So I just prayed for him and said, I'm praying for you. Right. And I think we are called, like Jason, if you wanted to reiterate your point that I heard you say the other day, when dealing with the second death.
Can you refresh me?
Well, you were saying that you believed, I believe you said this is just speculation, but even those that don't completely call upon the name of Yahushai, they might still get another chance, right?
Oh, yeah. So that's something, being raised Jehovah's Witness, my father always used. So my grandmother, totally rejected being a Jehovah's Witness and did everything she could to try to convert my dad back to being Catholic like she was. And so when she passed away, his reasoning was that because she had died this death, she will be raised. She will go through a resurrection, and that through the testimony of that resurrection, he's hoping and assuming that it would affect her heart. You know, you die, you get resurrected. That's some big testimony right there. But yet the scriptures tell us some people will still reject Yahushua even after being resurrected. So it's another opportunity that we hope and pray would the witness of such a miracle would change a person's heart.
But it kind of makes sense too that there would be this last chance for some when you think about all of us as being children of God, and when you think about the father-child dynamic. I mean, what we have for our children is not even just a nano fraction of what the Creator feels for us. And there's nothing in the world that my daughters could ever do that would make me not love them or make me want them to burn in hell for all eternity. So, like, say we're on our last call trip to heaven on the way up, and we're passing by our children. It seems like a hard thing to wrap your head around, that your heavenly Father's not going to be like, all right, last call, I told you guys this far, but like I'm gonna give you this last chance. You can choose now who you're gonna serve. I could be that way, that like once you die, that's it. You've made your bed and you have to lie in it, because there are warning signs from pretty much the time you have a conscious mind onwards that there's a path that is meant to be walked and a path that's meant to be stayed away from. So if we do die and there's no second chance after that, it kind of, whatever happens serves us right, because the warning signs were there.
Children are special, though. So yeah, we do reach an age of maturity.
Yeah.
And that's what, the Yahweh's daughter said, what about someone who actually denies there is a creator? It says it out loud. It's like they're going to be standing in front of them, and maybe the prayers of the righteous might have some sway. But we're just speculating.
Yeah, but the children fall under the protection of a believing parent.
Yeah.
All right, because they can claim, them as their children, and they are believing, so they gain salvation through the believing parent.
And I think even without a believing parent, I think that children are immune from right and wrong until they are at the age of accountability. There's no child, even if he's born to straight satanic parents, that child is still a life form that the Heavenly Father permitted into existence. So I think that it still belongs to the Father, and if he dies before the age of accountability and doesn't know right from wrong, how can it be judged as if he did know right from wrong and made the wrong choices?
Well, we know that Yahweh is pure justice, and that does sound like the just way of handling it, right?
Right.
Yeah, it's it's a tough topic, but like I'm praying for your grandfather, and for everybody that's going through any trauma right now. I pray for them as well. It's a crazy world.
There's a lot of trauma going around.
Yeah, it's the times that we're living in. They're just all the birthing pains.
Tribulation.
Yep.
Yeah. We're in that time for sure. So we're heading up on 11.
Yeah.
I didn't know if you guys had anything else you wanted to add tonight.
Nothing too big. I think I wanted to announce the perspective video I'm going to premiere Tuesday night at 8 p.m.
Nice.
Oh yeah.
Yes. Tuesday night at 8 p.m. So it'll be out. We'll have something to talk about on Wednesday. hopefully some people have seen it, and gives me a couple more days to wrap things up on it. But yeah, I'm excited. I think Ronnie and I, we might put together something like a trailer type thing, and we'll see what we can get done by Tuesday. But plan on that video being out. I hope everybody enjoys it.
It's the greatest of all time. Nobody's going to want to miss this one. Oh, no. But you will be able to watch it after. Go ahead, Derek.
I was going to say, I can't wait to hear what the naysayers are going to try to.
Oh, there's no debate. It's over, bro.
Well, they're just going to come up with the most ridiculous.
Jason covered every angle. If you've heard of the game Blockus, Jason's a master of that game. Well, I don't want to say master. We're not to call any man master. Jason is extremely difficult to beat in the game Blockus. And this video is a super Blockus when it comes to perspective. It's going to be like, moving forward, the future guidelines when anyone wants to explain perspective, they're going to have to refer, quote, Jason William Laufenberg, end quote. I'm not trying to big it up bigger than it is. It really is that big.
Well, I tried in the construction of it to look at it from every single debunk angle and try to have every one of them covered.
Yeah, I think in the trailer I'm going to do like a... You know how when you'd go to like a jousting competition, the guy would read the the accomplishments of the jouster? I might do one of those for Jason. We'll see how it goes. I have to work always through the spirit. But yeah, and Sunday we're gonna be reading which book?
Romans.
And
Nice.
more of the higher level parabolic understandings.
Yep.
But Tuesday, 8 p.m. Central. That's the calendar date to be writing down.
July 2nd.
July 2nd.
There's a number of things happening July 2nd, so I figured I've waited this long to release the video. Let's wait until July 2nd.
It's my daughter's first birthday.
Oh,
It's my brother's birthday.
Wow. So maybe we should end it off with not a prayer, but a call for prayer for my sister's husband, Glenn. And what's your grandfather's name?
Raymond Owning.
Raymond Owning. I'd like to just pray that we as a community bring the matter before Yahushua, that he opens their hearts and they can find salvation through us, through him. And I pray that the most.
Amen.
Amen.
All right, well, thanks, Derek.
Yeah, thank you guys for calling me up. I always appreciate being on the show.
All right, well, we'll see you all Sunday.
Thanks, everyone. Make sure you have a good Saturday.
Yep.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Guys, good night.